still. Forgetting all this as I wake, I dream, but still I know it's real.
This is a $500 a plate dinner. Good night.
Oh, 500. Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Here, put us down for 4, in case we want seconds.
We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
Well, welcome to Southern Traditions, you guys. Right here for the Southern Drawl Podcast. I hate to be coming to you today to report there's been another attempt on the life of President Trump. We started this podcast about 2 months ago, reporting on our very first episode that in Butler, Trump was nearly assassinated on live TV. Now here we are 2 months later, still got no information really on what happened in Butler, what happened at that rally, how there was such a massive failure from Secret Service and other law enforcement agencies that were involved there, how they allowed a shooter to take shots at the president. And now President Trump is playing golf at a resort right here in the Sunshine State, a place that no one was supposed to know he was even at. His whereabouts weren't supposed to be known by anyone. This was a private, closed-off situation. He's just playing a few rounds of golf. But yes, someone found out he was there, packed themselves an AK-47 in a backpack, brought along a GoPro camera. Wonder what that was about. Maybe so he could stream it, record it, provide proof that he completed the job. Who knows, man? I'd really like to know the answer to that one. What was the camera for? Is there anything recorded on that camera? Did he actually fire any shots from that AK-47? As of right now, we don't know the answers to these questions. We do know that 4 shots were fired. Whether or not they were all fired from Secret Service, still waiting to find out. We're going to talk about all of that and more right now here on the Southern Drawl Podcast on Southern Traditions. Let's get it. So first things first, I just want to jump right to Hannity. There's a lot of reporting going on right now, a lot of people saying a lot of things. I can tell you right now, the fake news media, the state-paid media, the state-paid propagandists are already trying to discredit this shooting or this attempted shooting, whichever it turns out to be. Already trying to discredit this attempt on Trump's life. Brian Stelter came out on X. I saw he was posting, the main question here, the biggest question at this point is, did this shooter actually take any shots? Well, I would ask you, Brian, what the hell does that matter, man? The fact of the matter is, because of hate speech like yours for a number of years now, yours and others on the left, people feel the need to try to take this man out. People are trying to kill him because of the image that you, sir, have painted in the minds of these deranged people. I would say that maybe you should do a lot less of this right here and a lot more of this right here, Brian. Stop running that mouth, man. Stop typing away with your little deranged leftist brain, saying things that ought not to be said. NBC, same boat, man. Same boat. Somehow trying to make this Trump's fault. We'll get to all that. First, I want to hear from Hannity, see what he has to say about this.
Anyway, so long story short is President Trump, they were on the 5th hole. They were about to go up to putt. And the way Steve Witkoff, now, just as a little bit of background, Arthel, I happened to go to breakfast with Steve Witkoff and another friend of mine this morning. And I was invited to play golf. They happen to be really good golfers. I don't have a lot of time to play golf, so I said thank you, but I'm not going to go out on the golf course and get killed out there. But long story.
Hannity, interesting wording there, buddy. fact of the matter is, had you gone out there and played that round of golf, there was a chance that could have happened. You could have been killed out there. Crazy that he used that wording. That's interesting.
Short. So they were playing, they were on the fifth hole. And the way Steve described this, the way the president described it, they both had exactly the same story.
Turn your phone off, Hannity.
That they heard pop, 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 pop. And Steve went into great specificity and great detail as to what happened right after. Within seconds, the Secret Service pounced on the president, covered him. You had snipers with tripods. They knew the direction where the shots had been fired, and they had eyes on the location where the shots had been fired. And long story short, they were. I have confirmed with both the president and with Mr. Witkoff that the gun has been found. They identified it as an AK-47. And thanks to Secret Service drone video coverage, they were able to identify one individual involved in this shooting getting into a car after dropping the AK-47. And my understanding, according to both of them, is that that car has been identified, and I believe it's been surrounded. Whether or not that person has been apprehended or not, I don't know.
So that's interesting. It sounds like the Secret Service did a much, much better job this time around. They had snipers already set up and had identified the area and the location that the shooter was coming from. They had drone footage, had drones in the air. Hey, there's a good idea, huh? Learned something, didn't we? Learned something from the last time. So they had drones in the air that were able to identify this guy and able to actually identify the vehicle he was in. Hannity says here that he doesn't know if the suspect's been apprehended. Yeah, actually he has been. They ran him down on I-95. They pulled him over and were able to arrest this guy. We have a little bit about that coming up here, but let's finish hearing what they have to say here. Obviously, these were very early reports following the incident.
This happened in a matter of seconds. A little more color, a little bit more details on this is that when they got on top of the president, immediately what is called a fast cart that I believe has steel reinforcement and protection was able to whisk the president away.
Fast cart.
And then the Secret Service immediately sprung into.
So they have an armored golf cart? I mean, is that what he's saying here? It's like Golf Cart Force 1 or something? That's pretty crazy. Shame he has to have anything like that to begin with, but I guess it's a good idea.
To action. They had eyes on where the shooting had occurred. I saw the New York Post report that these were two people shooting at each other outside the course.
NBC News.
And they did confirm that the shots were outside of the course, but certainly seemingly within range of the former president. So we don't have any details on any of that. They don't know that part. I only know the part of what they experienced.
I saw that news report earlier too. It was one of the leftist propaganda stations.
While they were playing golf at Trump International in West Palm.
They've since printed a retraction, by the way. They've printed a retraction and changed their wording because it wasn't two people shooting at each other. So they had to backtrack on that reporting. He said, thankfully, the president's safe. The president is safe at this point.
Steve Witkoff is safe. The Secret Service apparently acted with incredible speed and professionalism, and but certainly alarming in every way imaginable in light of what happened in Butler, as you mentioned.
Yeah, of course, this is very alarming. And Sean, have you spoken to the former president or texted with him?
I have spoken with the president 3 times since this incident, and each time I got a new piece of information. One, that they had found, first of all, what happened with the shooting. The second thing, that they had found an AK-47. Third, that their drone footage was able to give them enough surveillance to identify the exact car that the individual involved in this shooting got into. And further detail that they gave me was that they were updated and told that that car had been found, identified, was surrounded by law enforcement. I don't know what happened from there. It could not have been too far away. I would say the time frame was less than a half hour between the time that the shooting actually took place and they identified the car. So
I'm trying
on all
to
fronts,
find out, like, how is he doing? That's what we want to know. How is he doing, if you spoke to him?
Well, you really want to know the truth, Arthel? He goes, well, there's more details, because I did hear, and Steve Witkoff was very clear. The first thing the president did when he got back to the clubhouse was make sure that everybody else was okay. He didn't see his golf partner with him. Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Where's Steve? And then Steve says, I'm right here. He got in maybe a few minutes behind the president. The Secret Service was able to get everybody to safety. Everybody else was taken off the golf course. Then when the president found out everybody was safe and nobody had been harmed, I guess in typical fight fashion, Trump said to Steve, and then he related to me, I really wanted to finish the hole. I was even, and I had a birdie putt.
Nice.
It was on the fifth hole.
Can't hold this man down.
Which shows a lot of, I think, guts and gumption, and very Trumpian, I guess, in every way. But the good news we can report is that in spite of this being in such close proximity to the president and others and the Secret Service, that they were not harmed, and that they are in safety. And I know the investigation will go forward. Probably more details, I would imagine, as time unfolds.
So the thing that gets me on this whole thing is how do these people keep getting into these positions where they can even try to take out or carry out a plan like this? I mean, it's just really disgusting altogether. The individual was arrested. They do have him in custody, which I think is just wonderful. Honestly, think about it. The last guy, well, he didn't get off the roof. So we didn't get to interview, we didn't get to interrogate, we didn't get to find out what's your motive, who sent you, were you acting alone, any of that stuff. We didn't get to know any of that. This guy has been arrested, and I imagine he's going to spend quite a lot of time being heavily interrogated. But by who? Who's going to do the investigation? The same cronies that swept under the rug the other stuff, the other attempt? Let's hope not. There's been a call for Governor DeSantis here in Florida to step in and make sure that this thing does not get swept under the rug in the same fashion, that it is investigated by multiple law enforcement agencies in such of a way that there's some transparency and an attempt to keep any kind of deep state cover-ups from taking place. So I really hope that we see that happen for sure, because the last thing we need is to have two assassination attempts on the same presidential candidate be swept away and not acknowledged and covered up by not only the corrupt mainstream media, but government players as well. That just is not going to be a good thing. This is the picture of the guy that they arrested, who was apparently the one who had the AK-47, had the backpack, had the camera on him. He was arrested on the side of I-95 shortly after this attempt. This is the man who wanted to kill President Trump. 58 years old, don't have a name yet. But this is him. So take a good look, folks. Here's your white liberal right here. Trying to change America. Trying to be a hero. He's going to save the world, this guy. At least that's what they'd have you believe, isn't it? What a disgrace. Or at least this is the picture they've put out. If this turns out not to be him, I apologize in advance, but I've seen multiple pictures of this gentleman so far, and this is what's been reported. This is all we've got at this point. I also did see pictures of the traffic stop with the SUV and the law enforcement vehicle surrounding it. So we will keep you posted. If it turns out to be something else, we will correct it. But right now, unfortunately, this is all we have on that front. Told you there's been calls for Governor DeSantis to step in and ensure transparency. Governor DeSantis, right here from the Southern Drawl Podcast, we are going to request the exact same thing. You've done an amazing job here in Florida. We love you here at the Southern Drawl Podcast, here at Southern Traditions. We love you so much. We love our Florida. We love our freedom state. We'd like to see you stand in on this one. Make sure that we get transparency. Make sure that we know exactly who all the players are on this one. So let's hope that that happens. This is the Benny Johnson Show. He is actually, he's interviewing a ex-Navy SEAL here. This is Eric Prince, security expert.
Can you please, since we know that the governor follows our accounts quite closely, can you please give a message to Governor DeSantis from your security expertise and perspective on this?
Governor DeSantis, love what you've done with the state of Florida. Now is the time to prove the Florida Bureau of Investigation's merit in cracking this crime and not brushing it under the rug like happened in Pennsylvania.
Yes, I believe that if at the very least, what this would provide is transparency that then all of us could agree on the terms. Because what we saw in Butler was Thomas Crooks, the FBI contacting Gab, saying that we have the account of Thomas Crooks. He's a far left winger who supports Joe Biden. You can see that through his posting. And the owner of Gab coming out and saying, here are all of his posts. This guy is a left wing Joe Biden supporter. The next day, the FBI comes in and testifies that he's actually a right winger. And I don't know if that the intention there is to confuse or to cross the wires. But guess which narrative the corporate press run with?
Of course. Exactly. So again, the state government has a huge role in this, in preventing assassination and murder in their state. Clearly, the federal government cannot be trusted here. Sadly, yes. It's a time for Governor DeSantis to flex up and to see that this is done properly.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. Hopefully DeSantis will do exactly that and make sure that there is transparency and that there is no tomfoolery taking place here. We don't want to see another investigation with no results. No results, no answers. Still wondering what happened in Butler. Can somebody give us an update? Somebody give us some legitimate, factual information about what all's going on with this Tom Crook, or was it Crooks? Thomas Crooks? Was that his name? We need to know. We need to know why FBI was talking to him ahead of time, why he visited the FBI office on multiple occasions and was in contact with FBI officers prior to the shooting. We need to know how he was allowed to do all the things he did on that day, including walk around the premises the way he did, looking shady as he was, have the backpack and the rangefinder and all that stuff, man. How he gets on top of the building, all these things, man. There's lots and lots of questions, and there's very, very few answers. Ron DeSantis, please, sir, don't let that happen here. Let's get Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE. Let's have a legitimate investigation, one that provides answers to the people. All this no answers to the people nonsense needs to stop. We're going to take a look now at how the fake news media is reporting this whole thing. And this is NBC. This is MSNBC reporting on the second assassination attempt against Trump and essentially blaming Trump. Blaming Trump for this. He had it coming, I guess, huh? These people are shameless, man. Absolutely shameless.
Yeah. Do you expect there to be calls from within the Trump campaign to do that? Because he's going to reach out to his supporters and say, let's take this down. We do not know, again.
Whoever this lady is that's speaking, by the way, she is disgusting. I've seen her on several news reports now, just absolutely vomiting propaganda. Just diarrhea of the mouth propaganda, spewing poison over the airwaves. It's these people, man, paid off by the probably by the Harris war chest funds to just put out propaganda, just lies and awfulness. By the way, ABC is being investigated. There's lots and lots going on behind on that front. I was actually going to report on all of that today and talk about that stuff. The fact that there's a whistleblower that's released an affidavit now that has talked about the fact that the Harris campaign had an unfair advantage going into the debate last week. Some of you guys didn't like the things I had to say about that, but as we go along, the truth is coming out. And guess what? The truth seems to support this idea that the Harris campaign had an unfair advantage because they had put forth stipulations that ABC agreed on. Trump didn't have that advantage. They agreed to fact check Trump all throughout the debate and not fact check her, of course, which we saw that didn't happen. No fact checks for Kamala during the debate. More to come on that. I guess we'll try to report on that next week. There's still information coming out about it, but I think that the second assassination attempt upon this man's life takes precedence. So we're talking about that instead. I do encourage you guys to look into the ABC nonsense, though, because, man, what a web of disgusting attempts at journalism. Anyway, back to this news clip.
The source of any gunshot or gunshots. We don't know who's responsible for this. The whole thing has yet to be 100% confirmed from start to finish how this all played out. But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started. So
actually, what was really amazing following the first assassination attempt was that, yes, he did call for that he did kind of tone down some of his own rhetoric, but the left only toned down theirs for about 12 to 24 hours before they were right back on the hate train, spewing hatred towards the man, spewing all this garbage about what a horrible human being he is, about how evil he is, how he's the worst thing for the country. You guys barely paused for a day. So the fact that we're right back here 2 months later is not a surprise, is it? You say you're going to blame Trump. I blame people like these people speaking right now. These lying mainstream media, paid for propagandists, and they shouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. This is not journalism. Not in the slightest.
I don't know how long this could, this moment of unity for the country where we come together and we say, I don't want any political opposition to be under threat of violence. It's not okay. Any threat of violence, we don't want. I would love for us to have.
She can't even hardly say the words because she just doesn't believe it.
It's going to be pretty fleeting, as we've seen in the past.
Yeah. See, look, these people will absolutely continue to spew their hate, continue to spew these lies, continue to push this propaganda. It's like the Bible says, the devil roams around like a lion looking for someone to devour. And in the end times, he becomes desperate. He becomes desperate because he knows that his time is drawing to a close. That's what these leftists look like. They know their time is drawing to a close. I feel like the more we get closer to the elections, the more it seems obvious that the left is poised and ready to burn the whole thing down before they'll let him take office. It's really a scary time we're living in. We've got threats of World War III. You've got Canada and some of these other nations calling for the United States to launch missiles into Russia. Putin's made it clear, man. You pull that stunt and you will start World War III. That's it. That's the line. And they're just, yeah, whatever. Do it. Come on, Biden. Do it. Do it, Biden. You got to understand, man, these people want to see America in another war. They want to see America destroyed. They want to see this stuff. They're pushing for it all the time. They're trying to get the right to rise up, too. All these attempts like this right now on Donald Trump and all the hate that they keep spewing. spewing this stuff in the streets, spewing this stuff all over. This is an attempt to get the right to rise, man, get the right to rise up and do something violent. We're not going to do that, guys. We're not going to do that, left. We're not falling into your trap, man. We've got you right where we want you. We're going to beat you in November, and we're going to kick all of you out of office. All of you propagandists and all of you anti-Americans and you American last politicians, your time is drawing to a close. We're going to vote you out in November. We're going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And all these attempts to get us to rise up so you can demonize the right and achieve what they've achieved over there and over other countries overseas, it's just not going to happen here, man. We're not falling for it. We see through your lies. We see through your bullshit, and we're just not getting on that train with you. But you keep claiming that we're the racists and we're the angry ones and we're the evil ones and we're the violent ones. Well, I think the facts are starting to just be so loudly blaring that we're not the violent. You're the violent ones. You're violent. You're angry. The things that you're doing are awful. Guys, settle it down. Take the fight to the ballot box, man. That's the way the country was designed. You're not allowed to go shooting at presidents. You're not allowed to go beating people down in the streets just because you don't like what we stand for. We have a right just like you have a right. Exercise your right in November. That's what we're going to do, man. Hey, that's all the time I got for you today. Look, there's more on this whole subject coming out right now. We're going to keep following it. We're going to report more on it as we find out more. But as for now, this is all the information I have. But I will leave you with this. Man, they keep trying to get him, but they just can't get him, can they? It's got to be frustrating. But until next time, tune in right here on Southern Traditions on the Southern Drawl Podcast, and we will update you when we find out more. Till then, be free, be blessed. Peace.
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty, 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 trying to catch me riding dirty.